Welcome to Education in Focus. I'm your host, Aliana Kernodle. Despite the high-profile headlines around school shootings in 2024 and more instances from 2023, schools are one of the safest places for young people, according to safety experts. Joining me to dig into this is Chalkboard News editor Brennan Clary. Brennan, school shootings loom large in the news, and obviously even one such incident is one too many. But what are the actual numbers on mass shootings in schools over the past couple of years?
Yeah, our reporter here at Chalkboard News, Austin Gergens, he talked to Jaclyn Schildkraut, who's the executive director for the Regional Gun Violence Research Consortium of the Rockefeller Institute of Government. And she provided some context there, some background information. And basically, 2024 had three mass school shootings, the ones that really garner a lot of the media headlines. One at Perry High School in Perry, Iowa, another one at Apalachee High School in Winder, Georgia, and then most recently in December here, the Abundant Life Christian School shooting in Madison, Wisconsin. And then in 2023, there was only one school shooting, the Nashville Covenant School shooting, which has continued to make headlines this year with some of the information around the shooter and whether that would be released or not. So that was an ongoing issue into this year. So really, we had three such school shootings in 2024 and only one in 2023. So that's kind of the background there is, despite all of the attention that they're given and the ongoing, the trials and the different cases as they're brought through the court system, they keep coming up. But really, that's four in the last 2 years.
And so what do scholars on gun violence have to say about school safety, sort of with this context?
Yeah, I think one of the questions is when you're looking for patterns, year over year, that it's, as Schildkraut said, it's incredibly difficult given the small number of events that happen each year, because if there's any changes, it would make it into a very significant increase or decrease because of just the low number total, right? And thankfully, it's low. Unfortunately, there's any at all, right? And that's sort of the tragedy of all of this. But despite those numbers, four in the last 2 years, Schildkraut pointed out that schools are actually among the safest places for youth to be, and that 98% of youth homicides occur outside of schools. So that is, I think, some helpful context is that if there's, gun violence, the gun violence that occurs or the homicides against youth, 98% of those are happening outside of school. So that's really, that very small percentage inside the school buildings and I've written a little bit about that too of what role does the school district have in, preventing violence off of campus, right? And that's an issue that's being litigated currently in Pennsylvania. But in terms of too, like there's different kinds of aspects about where that happens or different kinds of incidents. But essentially, Schildkraut just said, that's the safest spot for students to be is inside the schools.
She also mentioned some of the ways that schools are able to address these issues and even prevent them. Can you get into that a little? Yeah,
absolutely. So Schildkraut said the most effective prevention method was from individuals preventing this by offering tips to authorities. So if you hear something or if you're aware of something, someone with information should come forward. And so then the appropriate, police or school resource officers can intervene and prevent that. So there are, steps that schools can take on educating individuals to what threats look like or where and how to report those. That can help stop these kinds of school shootings. If people are aware of what to look for or they see something and they know exactly where to go and to report it quickly, and that they know that these are the signs that they need to report, that can help thwart these kinds of issues. So I think that's, one of these things that we've talked a lot about before is having these kind of reporting mechanisms in place that can be like an anonymous system that students can use or parents can use, and having that prominently displayed on like a school website, for example, and just say, here, completely anonymous, I'm putting a tip in, and then those schools can investigate that and just look into that, with no pressure, and you don't have to have any identifiable information to be able to still, look into that. I mean, from the person who's making the tip, or in those cases, saying like, we will follow up with you to ask you any follow-up questions, but just any kind of mechanism to report these kinds of incidents is incredibly important. Another thing too that Schildkraut has talked about is how the media actually covers these events. So one thing that she's mentioned is, and even in my conversations with her, is just how the media portrays shooters, and to not use their name and give them essentially what they want, which is attention, and trying to do that. So that is one thing that Chalkboard News currently does not do, is use a shooter's name to try to promote student safety by saying, well, we're not going to give you that kind of attention. And so that's something that she's been very critical of, is how much media attention these get, because in a way that is what they want when they're doing these kinds of things. So I think that that's something to be aware of too, in terms of prevention, in terms of thinking about what can be done to stop these kinds of shootings.
Well, Brendan, thank you for your insights on this story. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at chalkboardnews.com.